Hollywood Heaven. Tragic Lives, Tragic Deaths. Volume 1, featuring Rudolph Valentino, W.C. Fields, Bela Lugosi, Tyrone Power, Alan Ladd, Sharon Tate, Steve McQueen, George Reeves, Natalie Wood, James Dean, Rock Hudson, and Marilyn Monroe. Come join us behind the closed doors of a magical land that only a select few ever get to see, where powerful movie moguls can turn night into day and where fantasy can become reality.
This is a take. Rolling. Quiet. Hey.
Hollywood, Tinseltown, dream maker to the world, awash in glitter and glitz, filled with beautiful people living exciting lives amidst the glamour of 1,000 opening nights. The legendary Hollywood sign, a spectacular sight when seen from afar, but like any great symbol of glamour, when you get up close, it's not as sparkling and perfect as it appears to be. Here lies another Hollywood, a Hollywood of tragic lives and tragic deaths. When the news hits that a star dies, millions may mourn. In our world of mass communications, movie stars have become part of our national family. Even sadder is when that loss is premature. Usually suddenly, without warning, we receive the news that a star has died. After the death, we begin to hear stories about the star, sometimes deep, dark secrets which have been held back from the public. We learn of unhappiness, heartbreak, and torment that was so carefully hidden behind the glamour and glitter of the silver screen. Sometimes the final chapter of a star's life is played out in public. Dangerous behavior and bizarre acts are eagerly reported by the media. We watch and read with fascination, and we're not totally surprised to hear the news that a star has died. It's almost as if the act of dying itself was like a final film performance. Many of these men and women have paid the price for their fame, some having tragic lives filled with unhappiness, anger, hidden and sexual desires. For some, drug addiction. And finally, the ultimate price, an untimely death.
The late Marilyn Monroe.
The Hollywood the public usually gets to see is really a mirage, created by the giant motion picture studios, hiding scandals and covering up controversy to protect the star, their most valuable commodity. For years, they have guarded their dirty little secrets well. But behind the gates of Hollywood, there are true stories, more compelling, more bizarre, more shocking than anything Hollywood ever put on the silver screen. Rudolph Valentino, forever remembered as the Sheik, was America's first screen idol. He swept the nation's women off their feet. Born in southern Italy in 1895, Valentino came to America when he was 18 years old. Attracted to the bright lights of Broadway, he became a cabaret dancer. And by 1917, found his way to Hollywood and the movies. His suave good looks, charm, and grace jumped off the silent screen. He flaunted his exotic sexuality and perfected the image of the anti-hero, and it drove the ladies wild. In fact, he enjoyed showing off his body so much that a Chicago Tribune editorial writer called him a pink powder puff. Well, this led Valentino to challenge the writer to a boxing match. From the Sheik in 1921 through his last film, Son of the Sheik, in 1926, Valentino was the undisputed king of the movies, turning out hit after hit, including The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Blood and Sand, and this film, The Eagle, filmed in 1925 for United Artists. Valentino played the role of a Russian Robin Hood, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. On screen, he was dashing and self-assured. There were, however, rumors that in his private life he was impotent and was attracted to domineering women. His adoring fans couldn't get enough of him. He was greeted by thousands at every stop he made. When the news was flashed in 1926 that Valentino was dead at the age of 31, his female fans were sent into a wave of shock and hysteria. And that hysteria grew. Crowds massed near the Broadway funeral home where Valentino lay in a bronze casket. The police were finding it harder and harder to control the thousands of people jamming the streets. Women fainted and riots broke out. Valentino rumors were everywhere, including that he was stabbed or shot by a jealous rival. Some fans refused to believe he was really dead and thought it was actually a wax dummy in the casket. The unglamorous truth is, Valentino died of complications from an operation for a perforated ulcer. On the first day alone, over 40,000 people passed by Valentino's coffin. Valentino's last love, film star Paula Negri, appeared at the funeral wearing a dress reported to have cost over $13,000. With Valentino's death, we learned for the first time about the power of the movies. Until now, such mass demonstrations of public grief had only been reserved for heads of state and religious leaders. Later, his body is put on a train for the trip to California and his final resting place. This statue, entitled Aspiration, is erected at his gravesite. There's even a popular tune, sung by Rudy Valley, to honor his passing, while the mysterious lady in black leaves flowers annually at his grave until 1951. And as a final tribute to the screen's greatest lover, a condom is named after his most enduring image, the Sheik. W.C. Fields was born in Philadelphia in 1879. Life wasn't easy, and after a fight with his father, he ran away from home at the age of 11. He rambles around the country doing odd jobs, finally winding up in vaudeville and then to the Ziegfeld Follies. In 1915, he began to appear in some silent movies, later moving on to his first talkie, The Golf Specialist, in 1930. Here we begin to see the Fields persona emerge, a man who hates kids and loves money. This echoed his real-life characteristics.
5 years old.
Will you give me $1 to put in my bank?
I'll give you $1 to put in your bank if you'll sing me a song.
Give me the $1 back.
You're more than 5. Go and get out of here.
Come on.
Come on, slam. Who's Craig? Get away.
I don't care. I got $50 in my bank already.
You have $50 in your bank?
Yes.
Oh, I'm very kind. But of course I can be cruel if needs be.
You can.
Oh, a veritable tiger.
An associate of Fields was once quoted as saying, with sarcasm, "Any man who hates small dogs and children can't be all bad."
I'm going to play this afternoon myself. Would you like to join me?
Oh, I'd love to.
Do you play?
Oh, no. I wouldn't even know which end of the caddy to use.
Oh, but you do know something about it. Permit me.
The irascible Fields not only got in trouble with the Hays office, the official Hollywood censors, for this risque 1932 short, The Dentist, but real dentists all over the country protested as well.
This won't hurt you much. Get your foot out. Get it out. Tear this out. I'm gonna give her gas. Not gonna pull me all around the floor.
MGM originally offered Fields the role of the wizard in The Wizard of Oz. But WC wouldn't travel down the yellow brick road with Dorothy unless he was paid $100,000. The film's producer, Mervyn LeRoy, balked at such an outrageous amount. Fields canceled his trip to Oz and went on to make You Can't Cheat an Honest Man.
Towels aren't big enough to dry your face on.
Maybe you better use less water.
Quite an idea, yeah.
What a man.
Must come see me sometime.
Oh, yeah. I'll do that, my little chickadee.
Fields was teamed with Mae West. Not only did the sparks fly on the screen, but Fields and West carried out one of Hollywood's most legendary feuds off the set as well.
You any last wish? Yes, I'd like to see Paris before I die. Philadelphia will too.
W.C. Fields had a distrust of banks. It is believed that he had over 700 bank accounts in different names spread out all over the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we honor a man who has been an inspiration to our citizens, a model to our youth, the eminent Egbert South, Suzette, alias W.C. Fields. We honor him for the fine example he has set as a husband and a father, and above all, for his heroism as a bank dick.
There! That gun loaded?
Certainly not, but I think you are.
Fields was a notoriously heavy drinker. He disliked coffee or even water, preferring hard liquor. He loved martinis and was quoted as saying, "That's the way I get my vegetables, onions and olives." On the set, he insisted he couldn't do his best unless he had at least a half dozen drinks. Amazingly, he never gave a bad performance no matter how much he drank. By 1946, the drinking finally took its toll, and on Christmas Day, he died in a Pasadena sanitarium.
Oh, what are you doing? Just as I was getting some of my money back.
W.C. had left instructions in his will for cremation. However, he lay for almost 2 years in an unmarked grave while several relatives fought over his body and searched madly for the 700 missing bank books. Bela Lugosi first played the role of Dracula on stage in 1927. His real name was Bela Blasko, and he was born in Lugos, Hungary, a town just 50 miles from the real Transylvania. The son of a banker, he studied acting in his native country. A matinee idol, he starred in scores of plays. He was even cast as Jesus Christ. Lugosi came to America in 1921. After playing Dracula on Broadway, he later went on to star in the classic 1931 screen version of Dracula and immediately became a worldwide star.
I am Dracula. This is Dracula, terrifying story of a maniac and a man who lived after death, lived on human blood, took the form of a vampire bat, and lured innocent girls to a fate truly worse than death.
Dracula? Oh, what's he done to you today? Tell me.
Universal was preparing its next major horror film, Frankenstein, and because of his success in Dracula, Lugosi was the obvious choice to play the Frankenstein monster.
It's alive!
Lugosi turned it down, saying he disliked the makeup and the lack of dialogue. A young British actor named Boris Karloff was chosen for the role and went on to become a greater star than Lugosi. This haunted Lugosi, who had to share the limelight with Karloff for the rest of his life. Forever typecast as a villain because of Dracula, He appeared in a number of horror films, some even reluctantly co-starring with Karloff. By 1937, parts were scarce, and his extravagant lifestyle had depleted his fortune. Thankfully, he was offered the role of Igor in 1939's Son of Frankenstein. Igor was one of Lugosi's favorite roles, and it helped to bring him back to prominence. But ironically, he was still playing second fiddle to Karloff, who was reprising his role as the monster for the third time. By the 1940s, major studio roles were becoming scarce for Lugosi. Needing to make a living, he found himself working on low-budget thrillers for what were called the Poverty Row Studios, such as PRC and Monogram, who were exploiting his identification as Dracula, playing mad scientist or Dracula lookalikes with only a slight change in the costume, like the addition of a hat, or by calling his character a magician to avoid litigation with Universal Studios, who in 1943 called Lugosi back to play the role he had originally turned down over a decade before, the Frankenstein monster. With Karloff gone from the role, the film was now actually part of a B-movie series, starring Universal's hottest horror actor Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. Once again, Lugosi found himself playing second fiddle. Lugosi returned to the Poverty Row Studios, appearing in a series of incredibly low-budget potboilers. Occasionally, he was called back to the majors, but it was for a minor role and just to exploit his name. After years of low-budget films, Lugosi yearned for the chance to star in a major film once again. In 1948, he got another chance. Universal was producing Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, also featuring the Wolfman and Dracula. It was Lugosi's big chance to play the Count again. But Ian Keith, an actor with little horror film experience, was slated for the role. After persistence from Bella's agent and a bargain basement salary, Universal hired Lugosi just before filming began.
Plus that fiend out of a nightmare, the vampire Batman, Count Dracula, played by Bela Lugosi.
Count Dracula sleeps in this coffin, but rises every night at sunset. Chick is right. This is awful silly stuff.
Doesn't Dracula ever end for you? No. Dracula never ends. I don't know whether I shall call it a fortune or a cause, but it never ends. Well, you know, some people, Bella, would consider that a curse, and some would consider it a very good omen, because probably as a result of Dracula, you make a living.
Lugosi's newfound success was short-lived. He did only 2 minor films in the 5 years after Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. He resorted to a vaudeville-style stage act and some minor TV appearances. At the lowest point in his career, Lugosi was found by exploitation director Edward Wood Jr., for whom he would make his last films, including the incredibly ludicrous Glenn or Glenda, also known as I Changed My Sex, starring Bella and featuring director Wood himself as a tortured transvestite. It wasn't long before Bella was back at work playing yet another mad scientist in Wood's super low-budget epic, Bride of the Monster, co-starring ex-wrestler Tor Johnson.
Lobo, take the girl to my quarters.
In April 1955, fans read the shocking news that the 72-year-old actor had voluntarily committed himself to a Los Angeles hospital for treatment of drug addiction. Lugosi had first become addicted in the 1940s to relieve leg pain and became heavily addicted after his 4th wife had left him. Rescued from the hospital and nursed back to health by his 5th wife, Hope Leninger, Bella came back to star in The Black Sleep. This film, released in 1956, featured Lugosi along with veteran stars Basil Rathbone and Lon Chaney. His next film was going to be produced by Edward Wood and was originally titled The Vampire's Tomb. Lugosi once again donned his Dracula cape and began shooting scenes for the film. On August 16, 1956, after less than 1 week of filming, Lugosi died suddenly of a heart attack. As per his last request, he is buried in his Count Dracula outfit. It was reported that Boris Karloff, while attending the funeral, looked into Lugosi's coffin and said, "Bella, you're putting us on."
I find a coffin much more comfortable than a bed. Many people do so, my dear. Is it so strange that I accept one while waiting for eternal rest?
But the story wasn't over. Edward Wood was determined to use the footage he shot of Lugosi and rename the film Plan 9 from Outer Space, hiring his wife's friend, Dr. Tom Mason, to double as Lugosi. Unfortunately, Mason was much taller and looked nothing like Lugosi, and spent much of the film hiding his face behind a cape. Considered by many as the worst film of all time, it's a sad end for Bella, being impersonated by a 6'5" chiropractor. Tyrone Power followed in the footsteps of his actor father, Tyrone Power Sr. He began acting at the age of 7. Tom Brown of Culver, made in 1932, was his first major film as an adult. Later, he starred in the 1936 film Lloyds of London, along with Madeleine Carroll and George Sanders. In 1937, he appeared in Alexander's Ragtime Band, and then the big-budget costume drama Marie Antoinette, firmly establishing himself as one of the country's leading matinee idols. In 1938, he met his first wife, Annabella, when she co-starred with him in the movie Suez. They were married in 1939. His dashing good looks made him perfect for a series of swashbuckling roles, his most famous coming in the 1939 classic The Mark of Zorro. In the film, Power actually plays 2 roles, that of the prissy Don Diego and his alter ego, the dynamic Zorro.
Zorro, a name that struck terror into the hearts of traitors and tyrants, but brought new life and hope to the downtrodden. His amazing riding prowess and incredible feats of valor with flashing swords became legend as he fearlessly fought for justice. This romantic adventure stars Tyrone Power in one of the greatest roles of his career, The Mark of Zorro.
I never dreamed dancing could be so wonderful.
What is this? It's some of the alcalde's gold. Oh, and this I took from his charming wife. It's pretty, don't you think? You took it. Have you seen this one, Padre?
Love and honor and chivalry live again in this stirring picturization of a glorious era.
Playing the foppish Don Diego may have been easier for Power than we think. It was later alleged that around 1939, Power became involved with the leading swashbuckling film hero of the day, Earl Flynn. In fact, it was said that they had a torrid homosexual affair.
Well, well.
Blood and sand.
In 1940, Tyrone Power followed in the footsteps of another screen idol, Rudolph Valentino, when he starred in the remake of Blood and Sand.
Tyrone Power as Juan Gallardo, Spain's greatest matador, adored by women, envied by men.
Keeping his secret life out of the public eye, Power enlisted in the Marines in August 1942 as a private and worked his way through the ranks. Here he is drilling Marines in San Diego. The studios kept Power's image alive by reissuing his films during the war. Even after the war, he continued to contribute his talents to worthy causes.
I've been asked to speak to you briefly on behalf of the American Red Cross. I welcome the opportunity to be of help to an organization which so greatly helped all service personnel during the war. I don't think I need remind you of the wonderful record of the American Red Cross, nor the fact that it was your generous contributions which made this record possible. I'm sure all of us realize that, though the shooting's over, the work of the American Red Cross must be carried on. It still needs and deserves every dollar that you can spare for this work. Around the world, wherever there's suffering or hardship, the Red Cross is a symbol of hope.
Still married to Annabella, the Powers were celebrated Hollywood party givers. On May 20th, 1946, they hosted an affair to welcome home David Niven and his new wife. Tragedy struck when during a reported unusual party game, Niven's wife tumbled down a flight of stairs, struck her head on the cement floor, and died. Power's wife, Annabella, took the event very badly, and it was soon after this trauma that she decided to leave Power to portray a lesbian in the Broadway play No Exit. Meanwhile, Power starred in the compelling drama The Razor's Edge. This high-grossing film received 4 Oscar nominations. Power followed in 1947 with Nightmare Alley, a seamy tale of carnival life. It was a complete change of pace for Power. Instead of the leading man, he played an unsympathetic roustabout turned mentalist. Many critics believe it was Power's finest effort. Although the film did not do well when it was first released, it has gained substantial following over the years.
I'm going to be strictly on the level about this whole thing myself.
Will you get out of here? I should have known you were that kind of a...
It takes one to catch one. Listen to me. I'm no good. I never pretended to be. But I love you. I'm a hustler. I've always been one. But I love you. I may be the thief of the world, but with you, I've always been on the level.
In 1948, Power married Linda Christian after agreeing to pay Annabella an $85,000 per year divorce settlement. The new marriage lasted until 1955, with Linda getting a $1 million settlement. In 1957, Power starred in what was officially his last film, Witness for the Prosecution. It was nominated as Best Picture of the Year. In 1958, Power married for the 3rd time to 26-year-old Deborah Ann Menardos. They honeymooned on a ship bound for Spain, where Power's new film, Solomon and Sheba, is ready to shoot. During a strenuous dueling scene opposite George Sanders, Power suffered a heart attack, collapsed, and died on the set. He was only 44 years old. Looking much older than his age, his 3 marriages, high living, and secret affairs had taken their toll. Ironically, his father, Tyrone Power Sr., died the very same way, on a movie set in 1931. In an effort to save the film, the studio flew in Yul Brynner to replace the fallen Power. While Power's wife, pregnant with the son he would never see, prepared for the funeral home cosmetician and Power's personal makeup man argued over who would put the last touch of pink to Power's cheeks. Like Valentino before him, adoring fans gathered in great number to say farewell to their idol. His tomb was inscribed with Hamlet's "Good night, sweet prince," and "A flight of angels sing thee to thy rest." Alan Ladd was born in Hot Springs, Arkansas. The family never had much money, and his father died when he was 4. As a young boy, Ladd was small for his age. The family moved to California, where Ladd flourished in the fresh air. He began to develop quickly and became a high school athlete. But he never grew past 5 feet 5 inches. Blond and handsome, he studied acting, and he worked as a grip on the Warner's lot. He soon eloped and had a brief marriage, which produced a son, Alan Ladd Jr. Early in 1939, Ladd signed with an agent, Sue Carroll, an older woman who Ladd would later marry. She provided the push he needed, and soon Ladd was getting better parts in movies, such as The Black Cat.
Monty.
What's all this about somebody trying to kill Abigail? Where did you find out about that?
I gave that to Mother tonight. She bawled me out for it and said she was going to give it back to Abigail in the morning.
Oh, then you're the guy that slugged me.
Yeah, and I'll do it again anytime you train down to my weight.
In his next film, Paper Bullets, Ladd was given 6th billing. But the studio, taking advantage of Ladd's fast rising success, later renamed the picture Gangs, Inc. and gave Alan Ladd the star billing.
Why don't you give up racketeering and get a regular job? I'd like you a lot more.
I see. Oh, darling, I'm only trying to get a few dollars ahead so we can get married.
Oh, I know, Bill, but what you're doing is all wrong. I can't write home and say that I'm in love with the grandest guy in the world, but he's an underworld character.
Yeah, I know. But I'll be out of it in a couple of months. I promise you.
Ladd's big break came in 1942 in the film This Gun for Hire. The boyish, good-looking Ladd is cast against type. He plays the role of Raven, a tough guy hired killer, complete with trench coat and fedora, which became his trademark. But his height is still a problem. The studio tries to hide his small stature by scaling down sets and hiring petite leading ladies to play opposite Ladd. While other tough guy stars of the day didn't seem to be as sensitive about their height, it is a constant worry for Ladd. However, he appears on more magazine covers than any other male star of the time. But the carefully constructed macho image suffers a setback when in 1943, Ladd is drafted into the Air Force and released 10 months later on a medical discharge for an ulcer and double hernia. Notwithstanding his military accomplishments, the tough guy roles continue, with Ladd cast as an adventurer, swashbuckler, and an assortment of gangsters and detectives.
All my life I wanted to be a hard-boiled detective like Humphrey Bogart or Dick Powell or even Alan Ladd. You know, and have those beautiful women coming into the office and those warm fires on those rainy nights. That's the kind of life I want. How about it, Sam? Can I go to work for you? Just give me a simple yes or no.
No.
Oh, but that's too simple. Why don't you give it a little thought? I could go with you. I've got a coat just like that. I can help you out quite a bit in case you're running any keyhole work or... You're sure there's nothing I can do for you?
Yeah, you keep your nose clean.
In 1953, Ladd reached the zenith of his career, playing the mysterious loner in the critically acclaimed Western, Shane.
Call me Shane.
Shane, who attracted the woman with his quiet strength, who fascinated the boy with the glint of his gun.
We'd all be much better off if there wasn't a single gun left in this valley.
A gun is as good or bad as the man using it.
I've heard about you.
What have you heard, Shane?
I've heard that you're a low-down Yankee liar.
The coming attractions proclaimed, there never was a man like Shane. There never was a motion picture like Shane. Unfortunately for Ladd, it was true. His best roles were behind him.
Believe me, Mr. Stokes, this has never been a joke.
Where are my clothes?
You go.
Let's behave now, Mr.
Ladd's film career was taking a downhill spiral. In desperation, he turned to television in an attempt to revitalize his failing stardom.
Better give him another sedative. I'm afraid Mr. Stokes has homicidal tendencies.
After a decade of minor TV roles and mediocre movies, Ladd nearly killed himself. The incident occurred in 1963. According to Ladd, he was investigating evidence of a prowler at his home when he shot himself. The official report called it an accidental self-inflicted gunshot wound, although it was noted at the time with skepticism how a man who had handled so many guns in so many movies could do such a thing as to shoot himself. The following year, Ladd appeared in the film version of the novel The Carpetbaggers. He played the role of Nevada Smith. He gets good reviews for his work, but it's not a happy time for Ladd. It's the first time he has played a supporting role since This Gun for Hire in 1942. He did not live to see The Carpetbaggers released. He died on January 28, 1964 at the age of 50. It was reported his death came from an overdose of sedatives mixed with alcohol, possibly intentional. Some trade papers glossed over the cause of death, calling it gastritis. Lovely Texas-born Sharon Tate won many local beauty contests and appeared in TV commercials. Like other young hopefuls, she traveled to Hollywood, and by the early 60s, she was appearing in shows like The Beverly Hillbillies, where she played Mr. Drysdale's secretary. Soon after, she was chosen to be one of the original girls in the Petticoat Junction TV series. But just before shooting began, she was replaced in the show by actress Janine Riley, when the producers discovered that Tate had posed nude and semi-nude for magazines like Playboy. Movies valued her newly revealed sexy image, and soon she was playing romantic parts opposite stars like Tony Curtis. And also Dean Martin in The Wrecking Crew. Her most famous part was in the film version of Jacqueline Suzanne's novel, Valley of the Dolls, where she played the role of Jennifer.
There is a Jennifer at every country club. The girl who is absolutely beautiful and whose body is magnificent. But there is a certain vulnerableness in every beautiful blonde girl, more so than a brunette, oddly enough. A brunette may be just as vulnerable, but she strikes people as being able to take care of herself. Sharon Tate is playing Jennifer.
I don't go into the person as thinking of her as just sexy. I would stop and I would think, well, how is she mentally, and what moves this into that? And therefore, I don't really think of the characters as being a sex symbol or sex goddess or whatever you would like to call it.
Sharon Tate's first introduction to Roman Polanski happened in London. Tate and current boyfriend Jay Sebring, known as the hairstylist to the stars, were attending a party. Film producer Martin Ransohoff introduced her to Polanski and suggested that she would be perfect for a film that director Polanski was about to do. The film was a horror spoof, eventually to be called The Fearless Vampire Killers.
The Fearless Vampire Killers. Oh, pardon me, but your teeth are in my neck. Sharon Tate.
The relationship between Polanski and Tate got off to a rocky start, but the two fell in love and were married in 1968. Interestingly enough, Tate's former boyfriend, Jay Sebring, who had lost Tate to Polanski, remained friends with both of them. Sebring, who had a reputation of supplying drugs to many of his Hollywood friends, was rumored to be supplying Polanski and Tate with drugs as well. Tate's life with Polanski would be a short and tragic one. On August 8, 1969, she became a victim of one of the bloodiest and most violent murder sprees in Hollywood history. It all began after Tate and friends had turned away a disturbed stranger who had come to the door of her rented Beverly Hills mansion looking for a prior tenant. A heated argument ensued, and the stranger left vowing vengeance on all of them. That stranger was Charles Manson, a deranged cult leader who later sent his followers to murder the pregnant Sharon Tate, along with friends, including former beau Jay Sebring. With Sebring's death and Polanski's absence from the murder scene, the police first suspected that Polanski may have arranged the crime. He was later cleared when it was learned that Manson had ordered the slayings. Manson believed he was receiving secret commands from Beatles lyrics, twisting them in his demented mind to justify criminal acts, including murder. His followers actually left some of these words and phrases scrawled in their victim's blood at the scene of the crime. Contrary to some people's belief, Manson was not at the scene of the massacre, but had commanded his disciples to carry out the execution of everyone in the house, as he had vowed to do when he was turned away. In an ironic twist of fate, one of Sharon Tate's first films, Eye of the Devil, depicts a mysterious cult terrorizing a local community, a chilling prediction of her own real fate. Sharon Tate never fulfilled her dreams of superstardom in her lifetime, but the international headlines her bizarre and violent death caused prompted the reissue of some of her films, with Tate being upgraded to star billing. No one in Hollywood has ever paid more dearly for their fame. Steve McQueen's childhood in a reform school could hardly foretell his future as a major movie star. America first got to see McQueen as an uncredited bit player in the film Somebody Up There Likes Me.
Two teenagers see it first, like a falling star from...
His first starring role came in the 1958 science fiction movie, The Blob. McQueen, 28 years old but playing a high school student, turns down profit participation in the film for a flat salary of $3,000. McQueen followed the beat of a different drummer. His career would later be filled with unorthodox decisions.
This town is in danger. Now, several people have been killed already.
Police suspect juvenile delinquents' crime wave.
I don't know what kind of a game it is you're playing, kid, but whatever it is, it's going to stop right now.
Mob hysteria sweeps one city. Before long, the nation. And then the world could fall before the all-consuming threat of the mob.
McQueen landed the starring role in the TV series Wanted Dead or Alive, playing the role of bounty hunter Josh Randall. He also hawked cigarettes for the show's sponsor.
You know, the life of the bounty hunter was pretty rough. He lived hard, and he moved fast. Oh, thanks, Ray. But when I'm off stage, I like to stop and think, figure things out. That's why I smoke Viceroys. And when you think your way through all the filter claims, you come to the cigarette with the thinking man's filter, the smoking man's taste. Viceroy, the thinking man's filter, and the smoking man's taste.
McQueen's star was on the rise. The public loved his outsider anti-hero quality. In 1960, he is paid $65,000 to co-star in the classic Western, The Magnificent Seven.
777, The Magnificent Seven.
Ride on.
We deal in lead, friend.
So do I. We're in the same business, huh?
Only as competitors.
Movie roles were coming hot and heavy. In The Great Escape, McQueen mixes acting with his other great love, racing cars and bikes, even doing many of his own stunts. More films followed. Love with the Proper Stranger, Nevada Smith, The Sand Pebbles, and Bullet. In both Le Mans and Junior Bonner, McQueen insists on doing many of his own stunts. This love of danger and excitement does not make the studio executives very happy.
Steve McQueen as Junior Bonner.
There never was a horse that couldn't be rode. There never was a cowboy that couldn't be throwed.
Famous old saying, right?
Steve McQueen as Junior Bonner.
In 1973, he marries Ally McGraw, who co-starred with him in The Getaway. The marriage will end in divorce. Also in 1973, McQueen takes on one of his most challenging acting assignments. He stars as Papillon in the story of a man's epic struggle for freedom.
Steve McQueen, Dustin Hoffman, Papillon. The dangers of escape. Steve McQueen, Dustin Hoffman, Papillon. The greatest adventure of escape ever filmed. Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox.
1974 sees McQueen starring in the blockbuster action film The Towering Inferno.
Steve McQueen. The Towering Inferno.
Set me down on the scenic elevator.
The Towering Inferno.
McQueen, bored, passes up many film offers and takes a job doing bike stunts for less than $200 per week in Dixie Dynamite. Later, bearded and 30 pounds heavier, he insists on executive producing and starring in An Enemy of the People. It's his worst failure. In 1980, he is forced to do Tom Horn, another box office flop. Coming full circle from his TV days, McQueen this time plays a modern-day bounty hunter in The Hunter. But McQueen is feeling ill. He's convinced it's exhaustion from his hectic filming schedule. And despite a fear of doctors, he checks into the hospital for tests. It's not good news. The handsome, rugged actor has cancer. McQueen tries to hide the news, but the tabloids get a hold of it, and it's splashed on the front pages. The doctors believe his rare cancer has been accelerated by his 2-pack-a-day smoking habit.
Chances are, if you're thinking things out for yourself, you're already a viceroy smoker. Thinking man's filter, smoking man's taste.
But McQueen's cancer was actually caused by the thing he loved most, auto racing. For 25 years, he had been inhaling asbestos fibers used in the padding of his protective suits. Combined with his smoking, it was a deadly combination. McQueen is desperate and travels to Mexico, where he unsuccessfully tries many unproven and unorthodox treatments. The publicity causes thousands of cancer victims to surge into Mexican hospitals, while medical publications further exploit McQueen's grim search for a cure. McQueen cannot win his last race. He dies on November 7th, 1980. His body is cremated and his ashes scattered over the Pacific Ocean. Born in Ashland, Kentucky, the son of a druggist, George Besselo, alias George Reeves, alias Clark Kent, became forever known to millions as TV's Superman. A former amateur boxer who later became an actor, Reeves' first major screen appearance was in the 1939 classic Gone with the Wind, playing one of the Tarleton twins. He started acting using his real name, but it was Jack Warner who convinced him to change his name to George Reeves, just in time for the credits on Gone with the Wind. He then landed a one-year contract with 20th Century Fox, appearing in Blood and Sand opposite Tyrone Power and Rita Hayworth. More films followed, including the Charlie Chan mystery Dead Men Tell, starring Warner Olin, followed by Men at Large. He co-starred with Lloyd Nolan in Blue, White, and Perfect, a Michael Shayne mystery. By the mid-40s, his Fox contract behind him, he appeared in a string of Hopalong Cassidy westerns.
Leon. Yeah, Hoppy, what you find? Enough here to send Hardin and Brass to the pen for 20 years. These are the cattle contracts sent to you, Barney, and the other ranchers, and stolen from United States mail. Let's go Barney and his friends see this evidence. Come on.
By the late 40s, after a failed marriage, Reeves appeared in serials and low-budget actioners, like Thunder in the Pines, co-starring with former Dick Tracy of the movies, Ralph Byrd. While working for Columbia, he played a heavy in the 1948 film Jungle Jim, starring Johnny Weissmuller. During that same year, Columbia was also producing the first Superman movie serial, not with George Reeves, but starring the first actor to portray a live-action Superman on screen, Kirk Allen.
I can be there in 30 seconds.
The film also starred Noel Neill as Lois Lane, who later replaced Phyllis Coates in the TV role. After a second serial, Kirk Allen, not wishing to be typecast as the Man of Steel, left to do theater. A year later, Hollywood decided it was time for another Superman movie and a television series. Allen was not pursued to play the role again, and a casting call went out for a new Superman. George Reeves, who had never even heard of Superman, auditioned and was immediately cast in the role the producers thought he was born to play.
Yes, it's Superman, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Superman, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend steel in his bare hands, and who, disguised as Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
Including the feature Superman and the Mole Men, Reeves starred in 104 TV episodes, which remain in syndication to this day.
Blakey, don't. You just get a few years for the jewel robbery, but for this...
That's the chance I gotta take. No, I don't believe it.
You will, Blinky, you will.
You're just wasting your ammunition, Blinky.
Sit down.
Hey, let me out. Let me out!
Another few seconds and it would have been too late, Superman.
Well, it wasn't, Miss Lay, and that's what counts. What time is it?
Just about 12:30.
Well, I can't wait for the police. I have an appointment date. Excuse me. There can only be one Superman, of course. Did you ever think about some of the super things that you can do for yourself?
George loved kids and making personal appearances, especially for worthy causes. Although a damper was put on his ability to appear in his Superman costume as more and more people challenged his superpowers. It all came to a head in 1953 in Detroit. Reeves, appearing as Superman, was confronted by a young child who had stolen his father's Colt .45. In an attempt to impress his friends, the boy threatened to shoot Superman. Reeves, thinking fast, talked the child into giving up the gun, explaining that the bullets would bounce off my chest, but they could ricochet and hurt others around us. After that, Superman appearances were very rare.
And keep on making me and everyone else as proud of you as we are today. Bye now.
Reeves did a handful of other movies and TV roles while still filming Superman, but as the success of the show gained, the more he was typecast. The ultimate blow to Reeves' career was when he appeared in the film From Here to Eternity. The problem arose when the film was previewed to special audiences and for the press. As soon as Reeves appeared on the screen, the audience broke out in laughter and shouted, "Hey, there's Superman!" The film had a big cast of major Hollywood stars and was projected to be a huge hit. Columbia decided to recut the entire film, bringing Reeves' scenes down to a bare minimum. They even removed his face and name from the coming attractions trailer. The image Reeves had created on television, which was brought into people's homes week after week, proved to be more powerful than anyone could foresee. In 1957, Reeves finally landed a non-Superman role in Disney's Westward Ho the Wagons. Billed sixth in the credits and forced to wear a beard and a mustache, for by now the whole world knew him as the definitive Superman.
The superhero of all time. Able to leap tall buildings. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Wherever the target is danger, into the fray leaps the mighty man of steel, racing with supersonic speed to exploding excitement, bolting fearlessly into violence and villainy. No human onslaught can stay him. Super invincible, zooming out of the skies and crashing through into the very teeth of hair-raising peril. A towering hero booming with super action. Sworn enemy of all evils, smashing through. His only shield, his super body. At every turn, slamming into breathtaking hazards. The superhero of them all. Faster than a speeding bullet.
On June 16, 1959, America learned the shocking news. George Reeves, the man who everyone thought of as Superman, was shot dead. It all started earlier that evening. Reeves was home entertaining friends. Saying he wasn't feeling well, he went up to his bedroom. Shots were heard, and he was discovered dead on his bed. The official verdict was suicide. The common belief for his apparent suicide was that he was depressed due to his typecasting as Superman. However, rumors have circulated that his death may have been the result of foul play, as he reportedly had many new projects in the works and was to be married in a few days to his fiancée, Lenore Lemon. Apparently, the Man of Steel had feet of clay. Natalie Wood, born Natasha Nikolaevna Zakharenko, later changed to Natasha Gurdon, was born in San Francisco to immigrant parents. At the age of 4, the family moved to the small town of Santa Rosa. Wood's mother, Maria, a former ballerina, a typical stage mother, encouraged her daughter to pursue acting. But the family was poor, and the only training young Natalie had was at the local movies watching the child stars of the day. Mrs. Gurdon's persistence finally paid off when director Irving Pitchell signed Natalie to her first contract, and her last name was changed to Wood.
And Natalie Wood also contribute to Hollywood's great pride in this unusual picture.
The highlight of her young career came when she appeared in the classic Miracle on 34th Street. Although the film is now a beloved Hollywood classic, 20th Century Fox did not think much of it when it was produced and dumped the Christmas film on the market in the middle of the summer. but the public loved it, and it established Natalie Wood as a major child star. Natalie continued making films, playing roles in various pictures. Here she is at age 9 in the 1947 movie, The Green Promise.
Hand me the worms.
Here you are, Susie. I'll do it for you.
No. It isn't fair to let others do an unpleasant thing you can do for yourself. Just because it's unpleasant.
Natalie's film roles became more and more substantial as she grew older and more beautiful. In 1955, she played the love interest to James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. During this time, Wood also made television appearances, including this one on The Perry Como Show.
We have a couple of wonderful youngsters from Hollywood who were such a big hit in their first pictures together, pictures like The Burning Hills and The Girl He Left Behind, that they're being talked about right now as the new romantic team. Tab Hunter and Natalie Wood.
Warner Brothers was searching for a new romantic team. They paired Wood with Tab Hunter. It didn't work, and only 2 films were produced, but they gave the duo a big push, including this appearance.
Where's Tab?
Tab who?
No, you don't understand. You know, Tab Hunter.
Oh, him. I'm not talking to that road company, Tony Curtis.
Tab, would you come out here, please? Tab!
Dead argument.
No, I'd rather not speak to him.
Natalie, this is ridiculous. I just introduced you. Warner Brothers is investing an awful lot of money to make you the new romantic team. They spent a lot of money. You've been in pictures together. And here you are. I mean, this is no good. Besides, I think you have a responsibility to your audience. Well, if she wants to. How about you, Natalie? You want to kiss and make up?
I'll be glad to.
In late 1956, Natalie had a real romantic pairing with Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. It was a whirlwind affair, and Wood got caught up in the Presley mania of the day. But soon she became disillusioned with the king. It all came to a head after a visit to the Presley home. Wood thought Presley was actually a square and reported to friends, he can sing, but he can't do much else. The publicity surrounding the relationship ignited the jealousy of another would-be Wood beau, actor Robert Wagner. The young actor marshaled all his charm and courted Natalie day and night. It worked. They started to see each other steadily, and after only a 3-week engagement, they were married on December 28, 1957. Wood's career was in full gear, averaging 2 movies a year, including Marjorie Morningstar and the classic Splendor in the Grass. Then, in 1961, she got the coveted role of Maria in the 10-time Oscar-winning West Side Story. Over 100 actresses were tested for the part, but Wood was given the role. Even more remarkable, considering her singing had to be redubbed by a professional singer, Marnie Nixon. Even so, Natalie Wood was paid $250,000, which catapulted her into the big money league in Hollywood.
Just kissed a girl named Maria, and suddenly I found how wonderful a sound can be.
By now, all wasn't happy. And towards the end of filming West Side Story, her marriage to Robert Wagner was in trouble. She leaves Wagner and takes up with Warren Beatty, her former co-star in Splendor in the Grass. New York columnist Dorothy Kilgallen wrote, "The way Natalie Wood and Warren Beatty are carrying on around New York, it's a wonder they have time to eat." Wood files for divorce from Wagner on April 17, 1962. Beatty eventually leaves Wood for a hat check girl he meets in a restaurant. 6 years later, in 1969, Wood marries for a second time to Richard Gregson. The 1969 film Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice was a highly controversial movie. the first dealing with sexual liberation. The film is a critical and financial success, and Wood earns over $3 million from her profit participation. Little Natasha Gurdon has grown up. On July 16, 1972, shortly after divorcing her second husband, she remarries Robert Wagner in a shipboard wedding. Their sometimes stormy relationship seems to be held in check, and the marriage is a happy one. Wagner has a successful television career going, and Wood slows her film career. Then, in 1981, Wood begins filming a new movie, Brainstorm. Filming is almost completed when the news is flashed that Natalie Wood is dead. The events surrounding her death are still cloudy, but we know that early in the evening, Wagner, Wood, and her co-star, Christopher Walken, were at a restaurant. Some witnesses claim Wood was openly flirting with Walken. The two men did exchange words, and Wood left the scene. Later, Wagner and Walken also returned to the yacht. Here, the mystery deepens. Later that night, all three were on the Splendor. Wood departs the cabin, apparently to leave the ship via the attached dinghy. The evidence suggests she fell into the water and drowned, but many unanswered questions still remain. Natalie Wood was dead at age 43, and Hollywood had lost one of its brightest stars, but gained another mystery. James Byron Dean was born the son of a dental technician in Marion, Indiana. At age 5, the family moved to Los Angeles. A few years later, Dean's mother died of breast cancer. His father tried to raise him alone, but financial hardship forced him to send Jimmy back to the Midwest to live with relatives. At Fairmount High School, despite his small frame, Dean excelled at sports, especially basketball. He also joined the drama class and found he loved acting, a love which would take him back to California and a stint at UCLA. He studied and joined local theater groups, and in 1950 got his first professional job in a Pepsi commercial.
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot, a big, big bottle, and it's got bounce, 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 bounce. Go get Pepsi for the Pepsi bounce.
Wherever the crowd gathers, you're sure to find Pepsi. So why take less when Pepsi's best? Buy Pepsi by the carton.
In 1951, Dean travels to New York. Anxious to hone his acting ability, he joins the Actors Studio, following in the footsteps of his idol, Marlon Brando. He soon finds himself doing live television, but it's not a first. Before leaving California, Dean played St. John the Apostle in this filmed Easter special, Hill Number 1. Back in New York, all three networks were producing live dramas. It was the golden age of television, and Dean started to appear in many shows. This early effort is from the TV series Danger.
Oh, yeah. Johnny, boy, somebody's coming down, boy. Go, I said, put that gun down. Come and get me. Can't take any more chances. Let him have it.
In 1954, Dean opens in the Broadway play, The Immoralist. Opening to excellent reviews, it deals with homosexuality, prejudice, and other social problems. Dean's all too convincing portrayal of a young man dealing with sexual ambivalence had cast members and audiences buzzing. Later, Dean returns to Hollywood for a series of screen tests, and he wins a role in Warner Brothers' East of Eden. It makes him a star.
You better touch her again. You're no good. And don't lie to me about trying to help.
Every emotion leaps from the pages of John Steinbeck's best of all his bestsellers. And to bring new vitality to every explosive chapter, to capture for you the stark realism of people who love so deeply, hate so fiercely, live so recklessly, Warner Brothers had to seek out vibrant new personalities, tap new sources of talent, create new stars. James Dean as Cal, the wildest boy you've ever met.
Did what?
Shot my father.
Because he tried to hold me. He tried to tie me down. Nobody holds me.
Your son, Aaron, he's everything that's good. Say hello to your mother, Aaron.
Say hello to your mother! No!
During the early to mid-50s, a critical period in Dean's career, he was subject to the military draft. He is not drafted when he states on his draft registration, homosexual. Again, fueling speculation about his true sexual orientation. Even a close relation had stated, he looks as good as a girl as he did as a boy. Rumors surface about his homosexual roommates from New York and their possible connection in getting him work. But Dean's career is unaffected. He has become a new teenage idol, an anti-hero whose screen image and real-life personality merge. He has a fascination with death. He has a wild passion for auto racing and loves to quote the line, "Live fast, die young, and have a good-looking corpse." He keeps a Colt 45 in his room at Warner's. His home is decorated with macabre images, including a miniature noose casting a large shadow on the wall. Adding to the Dean mystique, he is romantically linked with Mela Normie, known as TV horror hostess Vampira, and later star of the cult turkey Plan 9 from outer space. Dean's next film, Rebel Without a Cause, is a hit, but it is also remembered as a cursed film. All the principal leads die violent and premature deaths. They were Dean, Natalie Wood, Sal Mineo, and Nick Adams. It's now 1955. James Dean completes the filming of Giant. He had promised director George Stevens he wouldn't do any racing until the film was completed. By now, Dean is an idol to millions of American teens. He's a restless anti-hero who breaks all the rules. Less than 1 week after filming stops, he cannot wait to court danger. He leaves for an auto race in Salinas, California. Accompanying him is his mechanic, Rolf Biederich, in Dean's 550 Porsche Spyder. On September 30th, 1955, while riding down Highway 46, a side road connecting two major highways near Paso Robles, California, tragedy strikes. Dean is traveling about 65 miles per hour. As he approaches a crossroads, a young student driving a 1950 Ford is about to pass in front of them. His mechanic warns Dean. Dean replies he'll stop, he sees us. He didn't. At age 24, James Dean is dead and an instant legend. A massive funeral is held in Dean's hometown of Fairmont, Indiana. Thousands of mourners descend on the small town, many refusing to believe he's really dead. There were reports of attempted coffin break-ins for a last kiss. Fans chipped away at his grave marker for souvenirs, even removing it. Anything of Dean's was valuable, including his wrecked Porsche, which was purchased by entrepreneurs and put on tour with a 25-cent admission charge. There's a tragic postscript to the Dean story. Just after he finished filming Giant, Dean made a traffic safety film with the late Gig Young. It would be his final film appearance and a chilling prophecy.
How fast will your car go?
Oh, an honest miles an hour. Clocked, it run about 106, 7.
You've won a few races, haven't you?
Oh, 1 or 2.
Where?
Well, I showed pretty good at Palm Springs. I ran a Bakersfield. People say racing is dangerous, but I'll take my chances on the track any day than on a highway. Well, Gig, I think I'd better take off.
Oh, wait a minute, Jimmy. One more question. Do you have any special advice for the young people who drive?
Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine. You know?
Roy Harold Shearer Jr. was born in Winnetka, Illinois. After his father left home, his mother remarried, and Roy took his stepfather's name, Fitzgerald. After wartime naval service, Roy found himself in Hollywood. Sending his pictures to various agents, he came to the attention of Henry Wilson, the man who went on to discover and name Rory Calhoun and Tab Hunter. Wilson had a reputation for liking men, a lot. He liked Roy and promptly changed his name to Rock Hudson. Rock was in the movies, but not yet an actor. In Fighter Squadron, it took over 40 takes to get just one scene right. But he had star quality and soon found himself co-starring with Jimmy Stewart in Bend of the River. More action films followed, like Sea Devils with Yvonne DiCarlo. By 1954, after his role in Magnificent Obsession, Rock had become one of Universal's leading stars. By the next year, 1955, he was signed, along with James Dean and Elizabeth Taylor, to star in the movie Giant. Hudson had finally arrived as an actor, winning an Academy Award nomination.
Giant.
Hudson, born to tower over 1,000,000 acres.
That sure is a beautiful animal. Beautiful.
Your money's no good here. Come on, let's go. You two.
Hold on a minute.
He never stood so tall as when he crawled. Elizabeth Taylor, the gently bred bride who became a lady. Texas style. And James Dean.
Dean and Hudson played antagonists in the film, but their performances weren't far from real life. They really disliked each other intensely. Dean felt Hudson was a poor actor. And on the other hand, Hudson thought Dean had a poor attitude and was constantly upstaging him. It's hard not to wonder, given what we know about both stars' sexual proclivities, if there was something else going on, not totally related to acting. The situation got so bad that Hudson was overheard saying he wished Dean was dead. When the news came shortly after the filming of Giant that Dean had died, Hudson blamed himself and fell into a deep depression for a few days.
You always did look pretty. Just pretty now, good enough to eat. Wait a minute. Oh, you Tessie, Vic. Tessie is no cook.
And all the people, sweet and strong, bad, beautiful, but busting with Texas life.
You should have shot that fellow a long time ago. Now he's too rich to kill.
Warner Brothers proudly returns to the screen, the giant of them all.
By this time, rumors began circulating about Rock's hidden sexuality. Reportedly, Henry Wilson, Rock's agent, got wind that a major news article was about to be published disclosing that Hudson was a homosexual. To protect his star, Wilson arranges for Rock to start publicly dating his secretary, Phyllis Gates. It does the trick. The public buys the charade. Rock even marries Gates. But it's a marriage of convenience, and they are divorced 3 years later. With Rock's macho image intact, he stars in a highly successful series of romantic comedies with Doris Day, including Pillow Talk, On Through, Send Me No Flowers. Then Fox asked Hudson to host a film compilation as a tribute to the late Marilyn Monroe. Hudson talked about Monroe's career. Much of it ironically paralleled his own rise to stardom.
He worked here not very long ago. As a matter of fact, they told me this is the same stage where she first started. She happened to stand out. The needle in the haystack that caught the eye. She stood out because she brought with her a unique set of ingredients that added up to something even more unique. It's what they call, I guess it's as good a phrase as any, star quality. So many things it can do. This magic quality that makes a star. It can bring tears to the eyes and laughter to the lips. But most of all, and above all, joy to the heart. Marilyn Monroe.
Although still popular, Hudson's films were becoming bland and predictable. Lightweight romantic comedies like Man's Favorite Sport with Paula Prentice, and Strange Bedfellows with Gina Lollobrigida and Gig Young. Trying to revive his image, Hudson returns to action-adventure films with Ice Station Zebra, co-starring Ernest Borgnine and football great Jim Brown. But his film career falls to a new low when he stars in the 1971 sexploitation film Pretty Maids All in a Row, a silly black comedy with Rock surrounded by adoring high school girls. TV saves the day for Hudson. In 1971, he begins a highly successful 6-year run in the detective series Macmillan and Wife, co-starring Susan St. James. Using the TV show to bolster his movie career, he makes a string of forgettable films, including Showdown, Embryo, and his last, Avalanche. In 1981, Hudson turns back to TV, Slated to star in The Devlin Connection, production has to be delayed when Hudson enters the hospital and undergoes open-heart surgery. When The Devlin Connection finally appears at the end of 1982, it lasts only 2 months and is dropped from the NBC schedule. Rock's health continues to deteriorate. He loses weight, feels tired. He is suffering from the early stages of AIDS. Although he appears ill, many believe it's part of his earlier heart condition. The producers of the TV series Dynasty ask him to work on the show. As part of his role, Hudson must come into intimate contact with fellow actors, including romantic scenes which call for him to kiss co-star Linda Evans. Later, when his condition is known, it causes mild panic in the acting community, and many stars think twice before doing any intimate scenes. A last public appearance with Doris Day makes his condition impossible to hide. Then the shocking news: Rock Hudson is dying of AIDS. On October 2nd, 1985, at age 59, Hudson is dead. Even in death, he wanted to protect his image as a handsome leading man, ordering immediate cremation to avoid further exploitation of his now AIDS-riddled body. But sadly, due to a long legal battle against his estate by homosexual lover Mark Christian, Hudson is forever linked with AIDS and homosexuality. Norma Jean Baker was born Norma Jean Mortensen illegitimately in 1926. Her mother Gladys had a family history of emotional disorders. By the time Norma Jean was 5, her mother began a series of incarcerations at state mental institutions. Little Norma Jean would spend much of her childhood in orphanages and living with foster families. She never knew her father. On the few occasions when her mother was not institutionalized, she would take Norma Jean to the movies. She loved to go to Grauman's Chinese Theater, where she could see her favorite stars, especially Clark Gable. In 1942, after leaving high school at 16, she meets and marries 21-year-old factory worker Jim Doherty. With the war in high gear, Doherty joins the Merchant Marine and is sent overseas. Norma Jean got a job in a defense plant. A sharp-eyed government photographer takes this shot of her, and she begins posing for morale-boosting photos. Her pinups in magazines become favorites with many GIs. By 1946, she had divorced Doherty, made a screen test, was pursuing a modeling career, and was getting noticed by appearing in many men's magazines. She comes to the attention of Ben Lyon of 20th Century Fox and signs a short-term contract. They change her name, and the movies are introduced to Marilyn Monroe. Her first film, Scudda-Hoo, Scudda-Hey, has most of her scenes cut. One film later, her Fox contract expires, and she signs with Columbia, where she gets a lead role in Ladies of the Chorus. But once again, Marilyn fails to make an impression, and Columbia also allows her contract to run out. By 1949, she is out of work and forced back into cheesecake modeling. With bills piling up, she poses for the now famous nude calendar, for which she is paid $50. Reportedly, the calendar company has made close to $1 million exploiting the photo. By 1952, she is back making movies at Fox, filming Don't Bother to Knock. It's then the press discovers the infamous calendar photo. A huge scandal erupts. Monroe is pressed for an explanation for this sinful behavior. She answers almost defiantly, saying, "I needed the money."
When I stepped into that room, I ran smack into an adventure you don't forget in a long time. Because the screen has never shown this kind of woman before. The kind that reaches out in the loneliness of the night to a stranger passing by. I should have seen the warning of danger in her eyes.
The studio decides to take advantage of the national publicity created by the calendar uproar. They grasp the opportunity. The giant Hollywood press machine gets rolling, and the Monroe sex goddess buildup begins. Marilyn has become a national sensation and the object of desire to millions of American men. Her status elevated, she appears with leading man Cary Grant in the movie Monkey Business. The fans and the press follow her every move. Marilyn has become a one-woman traffic jam. In 1952, while filming Niagara, Monroe allegedly marries old friend Bob Slatzer, secretly in Mexico. Married or not, the affair ended a few days later when Fox, protecting the studio's investment, forced her to end the affair. Marilyn gave in. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes pairs her with bombshell Jane Russell. Monroe is being paid 1/10 of Russell's salary, and Marilyn's constantly late for shooting. Nevertheless, it's a hit, and Marilyn is back at Grauman's, this time as a star. Marilyn suggests, along with handprints in the wet cement, Russell should put in her breast and Marilyn her rear end. Officially married for the second time on January 14th, 1954, to baseball great Joe DiMaggio, it's an unusual pairing, a combination of two great American passions, baseball and sex. At first, the marriage seems to be working, but DiMaggio is having trouble accepting his wife's fame and the constant exploitation that went along with it. DiMaggio is at the end of his career. Monroe's is skyrocketing. The relationship is in trouble, but Marilyn is on a roll, and thousands press just to get a glimpse of her in the flesh. The couple's problems deepen. During the filming of The 7-Year Itch, DiMaggio gets particularly upset about the infamous skirt scene and the public's fascination with Marilyn's undergarments, of which she often never wore.
What has Marilyn Monroe got that a million other women have and prefer not to show?
Well, it's pretty vulgar, if you ask me. Wonderful. I think it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
After just 9 months, the marriage that captured the nation's imagination was history. Clearly, DiMaggio was brokenhearted, but even after the divorce, he would still carry a deep love for Marilyn. The official reason given for the divorce was career discrepancies. Monroe refused to talk to the press.
Miss Monroe will have nothing to say this morning. All I can say as her attorney is that this is what we would say with the conflict of careers.
In 1956, following completion of Bus Stop, Monroe marries for the third time, and once again, it is an unlikely match, this time to noted author and playwright Arthur Miller. The press dubbed the pair the Egghead and the Hourglass. They are married in 2 ceremonies, the first a civil ceremony on June 29th, and the second a Jewish ceremony on July 1st. Marilyn desperately wants children, but 2 miscarriages follow. Marilyn's work in Some Like It Hot is a favorite of fans and critics. Up to her old tricks on the set, Monroe was continuously late. Co-stars Lemon and Curtis were forced to sit and drag for hours, waiting for Marilyn to appear.
You've never laughed more at sex or a picture about it.
Due to Marilyn's lateness, Curtis got so mad that to get even, he was reported as saying, kissing Monroe was like kissing Hitler.
You're not giving yourself a chance. Don't fight it. Relax.
Good night, sugar.
Good night, honey.
All alone, running wild.
By the time Some Like It Hot is completed, the Miller-Monroe marriage is on the rocks. Although Miller escorts her to the premiere, it was to be their last public appearance together. In 1959, Marilyn begins filming Let's Make Love and has a not-so-secret affair with her co-star, Yves Montand.
Kiss me, baby. Let's make love.
Marilyn finally got to work with her childhood idol, Clark Gable, in her next film, The Misfits, for which Arthur Miller had written the screenplay. It was to be both stars' last completed movie. Monroe once again is chronically late, and her affair with Montand was over. The film becomes a grueling marathon to complete. In fact, many believe it might have been a contributing cause of Clark Gable's ill health.
The screen's most exciting woman, Marilyn Monroe.
By the end of production, Marilyn is officially divorced from Arthur Miller, And according to close sources, she was a basket case.
All right, come on outside. Here. What's the trouble?
1 month after The Misfits is released, Monroe enters the hospital for intensive psychiatric care. The rumor mills are working overtime, and the public has an insatiable appetite for stories of alleged pill popping, heavy drinking, and bouts with mental depression. She looked hopeful and alive leaving the hospital, but she was about to enter the final and most bizarre chapter of her incredible life.
What are you about? How are you feeling?
Monroe's exact relationship with the Kennedy family is still a matter of hot debate. It now appears from many reports that she may have had relations with John and Robert Kennedy, and that those liaisons were arranged by actor Peter Lawford and took place at his beach house in California.
Mr. President, Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe had started production of Something's Gotta Give when Peter Lawford called her to appear as a surprise at President Kennedy's birthday party at Madison Square Garden. She agreed and closed down shooting of the film, leaving the studio fuming. By now, Marilyn was famous for always being late, for everything. So, in a self-parody, Marilyn arrives late to the President of the United States, and possibly her secret lover's, party.
Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I can now retire from politics after having had happy birthday sung to me in such a sweet, wholesome way.
What was the relationship between Monroe and Kennedy? Well, she was quoted by Earl Wilson as saying, "I think I made his back feel better." Something's Got to Give resumes filming, but she misses whole days of work or arrives late on the set. 20th has had enough and states the studio cannot operate with stars who do not report to work. If this sort of thing continues, it will be the end of the movie industry. She is fired on her 36th birthday, June 1st, 1962. The trauma of being fired, her addiction to alcohol and sleeping pills, and the reported pressure to break off her affair with Kennedy sent Marilyn into a deep depression. Alone, she desperately calls friends for consolation from her rented Brentwood home. On August 5th, 1962, she is discovered dead by her housekeeper, laying nude on her bed with the phone in her hand. After a much-debated 5-hour autopsy by coroner Thomas Noguchi, cause of death is listed as suicide due to an overdose of sleeping pills. To this day, many believe Marilyn was murdered. The reported suspects range all the way from organized crime up to the Secret Service. Arrangements are made for the private funeral by Joe DiMaggio. DiMaggio doesn't invite Marilyn's so-called show business friends. He is so angry, he states, if not for those friends, she would still be alive today. DiMaggio wants Marilyn's funeral to have the dignity much of her public life didn't have, allowing America's greatest sex goddess to be laid to her final rest with respect. He has a fresh vase of roses placed on her crypt twice a week forever. 8 months later, Fox releases Marilyn, a compilation of her films. America craves more Marilyn, and the industry that created her is all too happy to comply with the public's wishes.
Yes, the whole wide, wonderful world of Marilyn is yours to enjoy as she goes singing and dancing, prancing and romancing with the most exciting stars in show business. Cary Grant, Betty Davis, Jack Parr, Richard Widmark, Jane Russell.
We're just two little girls from Little Rock.
Mitzi Gaynor, Ethel Merman, Donald O'Connor, Dan Daly.
Kiss me, hold me tight.
Love me tonight.
Joseph Cotton, Charles Lawton, Betty Grable, Lauren Bacall, Tom Ewell.
Hey, wait a minute!
And from the zenith of her career,
with Sid Charisse, Phil Silvers, and Wally Cox. See Marilyn Monroe in her biggest, brightest, happiest triumphs in Marilyn.
Men grow cold as girls grow old, and we all lose our charms in the end. But square cut or pear shape, these rocks don't lose their shape. Diamonds are a girl's best friend.